albums. I've just seen one of the first albums released from '97, and it is a monster.
Hello, viewer. Thanks for joining us on Full Record Jacket with Phil and Ben. Yes, indeed, the year 1997. Now, most people still don't really have a mobile phone, do they?
No.
Or if they do, it's a Nokia with just a
Snake.
LCD screen and a snake game on it.
Yeah, you got a TV with a back the size of a small detached house.
Very deep TV.
Yeah. There's no book face. There's no social media. You literally had to, in 1997, go up to somebody and punch them in the face.
Rather than argue with them on Twitter.
Yeah. These are the times we were living in, Philster.
You also had to either walk, cycle, or drive somewhere to buy something, which was...
You did? Yeah. You had to go to the cinema to watch a new film and not come across it somehow, somewhere.
You also had to make your food or go somewhere to obtain it in order to just eat, because you didn't have Just Eat.
Unless you had a Chinese, I suppose.
That's true. Although you have to make a phone call. You couldn't just do it on your... You have to speak to somebody to order your food.
And Music Geeks didn't have a platform to record their witterings on for the best part of an hour. They had to do it secretly in caves. It's like the rave scene.
We went to pubs and talked about music, didn't we?
Yeah.
And what was the other thing in '97? I'm just trying to think what things were like then. No, it's gone out of my head.
It's because you got nothing to keep it in, Phil. So that's what hair's for. Keeps the thoughts from escaping.
So what albums came out in 1997?
Well, I can tell you because I've just brought up a list. And the first album, it came out, it was released the 7th of January, 1996. And it's just shot me down because it's actually an EP, but it was Kenny G, Six of Hearts.
Oh, great.
Yeah. On the same day, Enjoy Incubus. I won't be. But I'm just having a look through. There was some really good Glow.
Is there anything with more sax appeal than Kenny G?
Oh, God. Oh, Kenny G just puts a shiver up me. But the first album really of any note in 97 that I remember being released was the 27th of January. And it was Bristol's Finest. Place Your Hands Up, 'Cause It's Reef and Glow. Oh, here he goes. Oh, 'cause the way that I feel right now. Oh, Lord, let me go. But Consideration's a great track. It's a good album, Phil. You should.
Has that also got the Place Your Hands, and has it also got It's Your Letters? What Chris Evans had as It's Your Letters. What was it called?
It's Your Letters.
What was it actually called?
Hands. That was Place Your Hands, wasn't it?
Place Your Hands on, yeah.
Yeah. And then
I don't know why I never liked them. Why did I never like them, Ben?
I don't know. A lot of people didn't like Reef. They thought they were sort of, but I don't mind Reef. They're harmless, But looking back through '97, though, February there was a lot of rubbish in January. February was quite. David Bowie's Earthling came out in February '97.
I didn't realise it was that early in the year. I remember that one. Yeah.
Remember, little wonder, you little wonder, you. That's my David Bowie impression. And then White on Blonde by Texas came out. That's a good album. I actually really enjoy. I saw them on the Hush tour, the second album. I saw.
Has that got the song that sounds like a Motown song on it? There's a song by Texas that reminds me of like the Supremes.
Feel the same about you.
No, it's quite up to My Black Eyed Boy, is it?
Oh, no, that's off of the second album.
That's another one. That's the other one.
Yeah. So that's a good album. So February, Tony Bennett had an album out. Blur came out in February. That's a really good album. That's when I sort of started taking notice of Blur, because that had Song 2, Beetle Bum, etc. on it.
Woohoo,
yeah. Erykah Badu, Baduism came out. Was it Erykah Badu? No, it's Corinne Bailey Ray that you were getting all excited about, wasn't it?
I did like her Glastonbury set. Yeah.
Yeah. Pavement, a band I've never really got into. Brighten the Corners was out in February of that year.
It's a good band.
Leanne Rhymes had an album out. Oh, I tell you a good album from that. Manson, Attack of the Grey Lantern. I've got it on limited edition picture disc. It's the one with Wide Open Space on it. I'm in a wide open space.
Did they also do a song called?
freezing.
Did they do a song called "The Chad Who Loved Me"?
Yes, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. And Stripper Vicar.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah. So that was out. That's a really good.
They were. Am I right to say they were a band that were kind of in a category of their own? They didn't really quite fit in with anything else.
No, because they kept a little bit like Bowie. They kept changing, didn't they? They weren't always set in one sort of genre.
Where were they from, Manson?
They sound like they should be from Bristol way, but let's have a look. Manson, Chester.
Okay.
So, Whitetown, Women in Technology. Remember our good friend from the, and you can go back and watch these. We did a whole thing on the greatest one-hit wonders of all time. And spoiler alert, we couldn't really decide between the top two in the end. But there's a whole load of videos back down here somewhere. And Whitetown does appear on that.
We did get a bit castigated for liking that song, but we both liked it, didn't we? So
Yeah.
There you go.
Sneaker Pimps Becoming X. I got sent that album by mistake. It was supposed to be going to a radio station. I ended up with a white label copy of that album. That wasn't a bad album. I'm just having a look through. James's Whiplash came out that year. The Boatman's Call, Nick Cave and the Bad Seeds. Oh, here we go, Philster. For you, in the month of March. What album came out in the month of March? A band that you really like. I know it's not Electro Gliding Blue by Apollo 440.
Is it a really, really well-known band?
It is a really well-known band.
One of the biggest bands of all time.
It is, yeah.
It's Pop by U2.
No, Still Waters by the Bee Gees. But yes, it's Pop by U2. Yeah, it is, yeah. But Still Walk by the Bee Gees. I had that song alone. I ain't never be alone. I like that song. But yeah, Pop, the unfinished U2 album, as they always say, which I think they underrate that album a bit themselves.
I'm a fan of that album, and I know the band underrate it, possibly because of all the problems they had surrounding the production.
Yeah.
But there is a cult subgroup of U2 fans who really love the Pop album, and I am pretty much in that
you went to see
group.
that tour, didn't you?
I saw the tour, and I must admit I was disappointed by the sound quality at Wembley on the tour compared to the Zoo TV tour. Maybe it was where I was in the stadium, but I do think it's a great tour. I think the tour was, when it got going, they had some teething problems early on. Essentially, they spent so long making the album, they'd let their manager book the tour in '97. The album wasn't finished. There's the story that Bono sang the vocal for one of the songs on the day that the album masters were sent off for mastering, post-production or whatever. And so it was released, but I don't think they would have made it any better if they'd carried on fiddling with it.
No. I think I was watching a video on What's the Story Morning Glory the other day, and Noel Gallagher said on that, if you know how big or whatever something's going to be, you'll never finish it because it will never be perfect. So
no, exactly. So I think U2 then, of course, because they were rushing to finish this album, or never finish it, in their view, they then didn't have as much time to prepare rehearsals for the tour as they probably would like to have done. So there were a few teething problems early on in the tour, but it got good. And the DVD that came out, the one that came out was Live in Mexico. That's a good one. So yeah, good tour, interesting concept.
Yeah, with the big lemon.
Came out of a lemon for the encore. That's
right. Yeah, I remember that. I do remember that. The an album from this time which I do like, and they fall in. I think the band falls into that Matchbox 20 category. Is a Message for Albert by Five for Fighting. I quite like that album. I remember getting into them. Let's have a look. Aerosmith, who've just announced this week that they are retiring from touring because of Steven Tyler's damaged his vocal cords.
All right, yeah.
And the fact he's about 109. Ben Folds 5 had an album out. I remember there being a lot of noise around Ben Folds 5.
What was the title? But just before we talk about them, what was the title of that Aerosmith album?
Always an EP. Looking at this, I'm in a list of stuff.
Okay.
It was 9 Lives and Made in America.
Oh, I remember 9. I remember one called 9 Lives. Yeah. Okay.
But yeah, Supertramp had an album out this year. Yeah, Ray J. Dinosaur Jr. Weren't they on Creation? Am I?
Well, they were American. They were on. Which label?
No, I'm getting confused with somebody else. Yeah, they were
someone else.
Yeah.
I don't think Creation released their stuff.
No. Oh, Life After Death, Notorious B.I.G. So I can. Oh, look, he's on here. So if you're getting some hip hop in this year, Philster. I'm just having another. Alison Krauss. She had an album out, and she's the one who has done the albums with Robert Plant.
Yeah,
hasn't she? Warren G. Take a look over your shoulder. That's got to have Regulate on it. Aquarium by Aqua. You'll be a big fan of that one, Philster.
In my Barbie world. Yeah.
In your Barbie world, yeah. I'm just having a quick look. We're into April now. I'll tell you what. I listened to a history podcast called Oh What a Time, and they actually brought up because they were talking about music the other day, and I think that when I next go on a walk, I've never listened to anything of this band, and I know they existed because I've heard of them. Remember Gorky's Psychotic Minky?
Yes. Were they Welsh?
Yeah, very Welsh. Yeah, but that came out the same day as the Chemical Brothers' Dig Your Own Hole, which was probably the first proper sort of dance album I ever bought. That and the Annual 2.
Okay, so Dig Your Own Hole, was that 97 as well?
That was 97, and didn't it have Setting Sun on it?
Did that have Block Rockin' Beats on it?
It did have Block Rockin' Beats, yeah, and Setting Sun, Noel Gallagher on lead vocals. Frank Zappa had an album out this year. Third Eye Blind. I listened to Third Eye Blind today. I don't really like them. Cass, Mother Nature Calls, their second album after All Right. Was it All Right, the first album? Was it All Right? It was all right.
Fine Time. I think of it as being called Fine Time, but I might be wrong about that.
Yeah, possibly was. Yeah, Lusk. I remember them. Brand Van 3000. Do you remember them? They appeared in our one-hit wonders as well. 10. Oh no, that's the best of it. Supergrass, In It for the Money. That was a good album. I'm sure that had Richard III and If You Want to Go Out. That one on it.
Yeah.
That was a good album. I've got that album. Telling Stories, The Charlatans. That was out this year as well. Because wasn't it? No, it was 96, wasn't it? Where the keyboardist died in the car crash, wasn't it?
Yeah, because didn't they do an album in 96 that was simply called The Charlatans?
I think so, yes.
That had One to Another was on that, I think.
One to Another. Oh, wasn't that earlier?
I thought One to Another was 96. I may be wrong about that, but I thought it was 96.
Now, a big album for me from 97 came out in the June, and I remember buying it, and I look back now, and I realised that he was younger when he released this album than what Noel Gallagher is now. And do you know what it is yet, Phil? He's in a big band, a very big band.
Is it Paul Weller?
No, but it begins with a P, an A-U, and an L.
Paul somebody.
Yeah, in a big band. He's in a really big band that split up.
Oh, of course, Paul McCartney.
It was Paul McCartney's Flaming Pie. I really, really enjoyed that album. I've not listened to it. No, didn't we listen to it? Didn't we do a thingy on? I can't remember, but I did really like that album at the time. I remember it being Middle of Nowhere, Hanson. That's a one for you, Philster. But yeah, that's a good. I'll look forward to going back to that album.
McCartney's Flaming Pie. Yeah.
Yeah. The Foo Fighters' second album, The Colour and the Shape, was out in this year. I'm just having a look through. Radiohead's OK Computer, an album that took me probably 20 years to finally listen to and get into. That came out in 97 and did win a lot of the awards for 97, if I remember rightly.
I had it at the time, and I listened to it a fair bit at the time. But would it still be in my top 3 now? That's the question.
Well, that is the question. And you had Wu-Tang Forever as well out as well. And a bit K.D. Lang. K.D. Lang.
I remember the Wu-Tang one. That was a big album, wasn't it?
Yeah, it
that
was.
a long album.
Spiritualized from
Ladies
our
and gentlemen,
hometown. We are floating in space. Yes, that was out.
Now that had quite a clever package because it made it look like it was a big pill in a.
Yes. Yeah. Yes. I did. I only listened to that album for the first time fully, probably a year or so ago, and I did enjoy it. Oh, I'll tell you a good album. This Do It Yourself, The Seahorses. That's a really good album. Oh God, this is going to be hard. I thought this was going to be quite easy, but that's a really good album. That
the John Squire Seahorses.
Yeah, the John Squire one. Yeah, and you should be happy because oh no, it's a live album. So you can't. Paul Weller's Heavy Soul was out there this year. So that's a good album. Yeah, that's another one.
What's the live album that you were discounting?
I was discounting Year of the Horse.
Mr. Young, yeah, we're not going to have a live one in there.
We can't have it. Fat of the Land project. I can never say the words. I'm not even going to try, but you know who I mean.
Yeah.
So that was out. Limp Bizkit had an album out, which won't be listening to. Maybe I should listen to it instead of.
Well, if you can listen to Limp Bizkit all the way through, well done.
Thank you. I remember this album, Vanishing Point by Primal Scream.
Yeah, that's one I want to listen to.
Yeah. Evergreen, Echo and the Bunnymen. Is that the one where they're on the boat on the front cover? No, they're in the woods or something on the front cover.
I think the one with the boat is from the 80s, I think.
Yeah. I've never really got Echo and the Bunnymen. I know that might upset Echo and the Bunnymen, but they've never really done anything to me. I don't think there's anybody out there, if you said, who's your favourite band, they're going to go, oh, Echo and the Bunnymen.
There must be people because they were quite highly thought of.
They were, yeah. A Teenage Fan Club had Songs for Northern Britain out. There's lot of Maladjusted, Morrissey was out.
What was on the front cover of the Morrissey Maladjusted album?
Maladjusted, that's one when he sort of it's a grey album cover, isn't it? He's sort of squatting down.
Ah, right. Yes, I think I remember that one. Yeah.
Like he's taking a poop in his. I'll tell you what. August the 21st, and August the 25th. Two great. Well, August 25th is quite a good day for albums, but August the 21st was a Thursday, Phil. There's only one album released on August 23rd.
Is it an album that had the date on a calendar on the front cover of the album?
It did, and there's a fly bugging me. A pretty awful front cover as well. I don't like the front cover of the album. I think it feels too forced.
Do you think it was too calculated?
Yes,
to be. This is our big album that's coming out.
Yeah.
It was too much hype.
Yes, yeah. I think the first two albums, the front covers just look like they happened in a way. They don't. I mean, they're all orchestrated, but this one just felt like it was trying to be a little bit clever.
We're talking about Oasis and Be Here Now.
We are. Yes.
Was Brian Cannon behind the design of that?
I think he was. Yeah. I think that was the last album that he had any real input to. But yeah, I really enjoy the album. I think it's a better album than
many claim.
And I am well aware of its failings. It is probably too long. There are too many guitar tracks, etc. on it. Some of the lyrics might be a little bit lazy, but I think the root of it, there is a really good album there. But I really don't like that album cover. It sort of just feels forced.
What do you think the album cover should have been? I don't know why I'm asking you this.
I don't know, but sort of. I always like, if you look at the Oasis singles and stuff, they are pictures of of things that don't mean anything, but in a way they kind of become iconically mean everything.
They were quite, a lot of them were quite iconic, weren't
Yeah,
they?
you look at the Whatever front cover, it's just a picture of that like sort of cornfield, isn't it? You know, it's
picture of a field. There's a picture of the house, the John Lennon house. There's a picture
yeah,
of
Aunt Mimi's
a
house.
guitar amp, isn't there? One, and there's one with a picture of what's the Stand By Me one? It looks like a couple of people out of an old sitcom.
Yeah, and then you've got the Don't Look Back in Anger front cover was the piano covered in flowers as a homage to Ringo Starr.
Be Here Now. Should they have just had the hourglass on its own?
Yeah, maybe just something like that. Just something simple. It's, to be fair, the album cover is probably sums up the album in many ways, that it is probably too much, too excessive, but
we know it's going to be big.
We know it, yeah, and
they knew it was going to be big, didn't they? It's weird that you're making an album and you know that it's going to be big. That's a bit weird, isn't it?
And in a way, I mean, in that interview I was watching with Noel Gallagher the other day, he does say about that album is they should have taken more time off. The songs weren't there, but at the time, because of cocaine and that, he thought they were the greatest things. But unlike Morning Glory, these songs, a lot of them do have a second verse and a bridge and a middle eight. Whereas
more words in them.
Yeah, Morning Glory are literally just the one verse just repeated. So,
yes.
But then a couple of days later, on the 25th, came one of my favourite albums of this song as well, Word Gets Around by the Stereophonics, which I know you're not a massive fan of, Philster.
No, do I need to listen to that album to challenge my preconceptions about Stereophonics?
Probably. I think this is his best album lyrically because he is writing stories about where he's from. And, Super Furry Animals and Radiator is also out that same day. So a bit of a Welsh invasion there. But yeah, no, that Stereophonics album is, let's face it, it's not going to change the landscape of music, but songs like Local Boy and Not Up to Me and things like that, they're really, really great tracks. So Travis had an album out. Not that bothered by that. Corner Shop, When I Was Born for the Seventh Time. I really enjoy that album. Only listened to it the first time about 10 years ago, but I really, really like that album.
Were Travis, it's a bit random now, is that the album with Why Does It Always Rain on?
No, that was The Man Who.
That was later.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure what this was. Was this their first album?
Let's have a look. Because I think Travis, because they became really, really big. But I think they became big because they were sort of like the opposite to the excess of things like Be Here Now.
It was kind of like...
It was the debut album by Travis, produced by Steve Lillywhite.
They were kind of like the post-Britpop guitar band. They were the band that became big in the aftermath of Britpop.
Yeah, them and Fever.
And it was kind of like, would it be fair to say that Travis are a bit like... I'm thinking of after... This is maybe not a very good thought, but I'll put it out there anyway and make an idiot of myself.
Yeah, go on.
After the late 60s, early 70s, sort of the heavy rock stuff, right? There was this era of singer-songwriters, and I'm thinking about people like James Taylor.
Yeah, he had
that was quite mellow.
Yeah.
Were Travis kind of like the James Taylor of British guitar bands? That they were kind of like, they were sort of little bit middle of the road. Not to say that it's not good songwriting or it's not.
No. They were safe, weren't they?
But it was a little bit middle of the road.
Yeah. They didn't have that expectation and everything on them, did they? They weren't.
They just weren't. They weren't rock and roll. They were they were more like singer-songwriter music.
Yeah. Oh, I would go with that. I don't think that's too bad an analogy, dude.
No, I'm not saying it's bad, but you can see why people would have said, "Oh, it's all a bit insipid," because they wanted a rock and roll band to be the biggest band in the country, and it was this band who were more like a sort of mellow singer-songwriter music,
like Warm Cheese.
Yeah,
basically.
Yeah,
and I mean, like you know what you're getting. But one of my favourite artists had an album out on the 11th of September, Phil, and I'll be listening to this as soon as we finish recording. I love her. She's great. I love all of her albums. Every single one.
Is it Mariah Carey?
It is Mariah Carey, yeah. I won't be listening to that. But Ocean Colour Scene had the follow-up to Mosey Shoals, Marching Already, which I know gets panned. I'm sure that's got 100 Mile High City or whatever it is.
Was it that much worse than the one before?
I don't think it's a bad album, but I could be wrong.
Surely one of the big albums of that year was The Verve.
That's coming up, dude. That's coming up. That is in there. Urban Hymns. When Disaster Strikes, Busta Rhymes. I love that. It's got Fire It Up and Put Your Hands Where My Eyes Can See. That one on it. So Bjork, Homogenic was out as well. That was I tell you, there's an album out this year which I really like, and it's going to blow your mind that I really like it. And it's Static and Silence by the Sundays.
Okay.
I really like that album. And it's got a really good front cover as well. The Big Picture, Elton John was out this year as well.
Okay.
So probably not his best work, I'd say there.
I don't think it probably wouldn't have been his best. No, he was being a little bit middle of the road at that time, wasn't he?
He was, but we get into September and it comes out in September, Phil. It is Bridges to Babylon by the Rolling Stones.
Of course.
And it came out, actually looking at this, it came out the 29th of September. So the same day as Urban Hymns by The Verve.
I would have guessed that it came out earlier in the year, but
no.
Obviously it wasn't.
And Portishead's Portishead album came out on this day, and Life Through a Lens by Robbie Williams came out on that day as well.
And was that his first solo?
That was his first solo album, yeah.
So that was Let Me Entertain You and Angels and all that stuff.
Yeah. And I bought the Robbie Williams album on the same day as I bought the Verve album.
Is there a Robbie Williams one that's called something about I'm Going to Live Before I Die or something?
Old Before I Die.
Old Before I Die, that's right.
Yeah.
Which is a little bit Oasis style.
Yeah. Oh, Before I Die.
He was channeling his inner Liam for that, wasn't he? I think.
I think he was. Yeah. So that was out around. So they all came out the same day. They did those albums, which I think is pretty. And then what came out a few days later, end of September '97. You should know this one. It should be on the tip of your tongue.
Is this an album by a very well-known veteran male songwriter?
It is, yeah.
So that's Bob Dylan's Time Out of Mind.
It is Time Out of Mind, yeah. I've never really listened to that album, and I'm actually looking forward to listening to that album.
I think you might like that album. It's because it was the first album of new songs that he'd done in, I think, 7 years.
Really? Which is unusual for
it's
not unusual anymore, but
it's his longest period, I think, of not writing anything. Yeah, and he did have a writer's block, apparently.
Oh, did he? Well, we're into October, and I'm. Do you remember Mogwai?
Yeah, no, that wasn't a Welsh band as well, was it?
I think Scottish.
Scottish, yeah.
Their album came out. Oh, one of your favourite albums came out at the end of this month, Philster. A Irish band, Three Sisters and a Brother. Talk on Corners, The Cause.
I suppose you could say they were harmless.
Well, they were, yeah. Let's have a look what else came out. The Cure, Galore. We're coming up to the Christmas. Oh, Spice World by the Spice Girls. Okay. Oh, another one of my favourite artists had an album out. Paint the Sky with Stars. Do you know who that was? I think Irish solo female.
One that you don't actually like.
Yeah.
Enya.
Enya. In fact, the start of November was terrible. So you had Enya. You then had All That Matters, Michael Bolton, and Come On Over, Shania Twain. I mean, if there was ever a month that said this
It
is
was
awful.
getting ready for Christmas, wasn't it? Really?
It was. And then you had Kettle Whistle by Jane's Addiction out as well around that around November time. And we're going through November. There's nothing really sticking out at the moment. AC/DC had Bonfire out. Metallica Reload. Paul Simon, Songs from the Cape Man. Natalie Imbruglia, Left of the Middle. Oh, 24th of November, Stupid, Black Grape. I remember that album. That wasn't too bad. But Garth Brooks. We're now into December. Let's see what December has to offer. So far, not. Do you know what? There wasn't a lot of albums released in December.
Well, they normally release before.
Yeah. Unless
a bit earlier to get in the Christmas sales, aren't they?
Yeah, unless you like Robert Miles or Aaron Carter. Oh, Lustria came out Lustra by Echo Belly came out the end of November. So, but yeah, there's some decent stuff in '97.
Well, I made a mental shortlist of, off the top of my head, list of 7 albums from '97 that I think will be in my shortlist. And you've mentioned all of them except one, which I won't say what it is, but it's a little bit of a cult one by an American band. But that might, but it'll be in my consideration. Probably may not make one to final 3. But
Daft Punk had an album out that year as well.
And that was before they were big, really, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. Yeah, I'm just having a look through the X magazine, what their albums were, and their top 25. And the only one I haven't mentioned so far is the Dandy Warhols. We meant Travis is in there. Oh, Finley Quaye, Maverick Strike was out in '97. That's a good album. And Green Day's Nimrod came out. They're the only ones we hadn't mentioned previously. So
I don't know the Green Day album.
No, I don't either. But the Finley Quaye album's a good one. I've got it down there on vinyl.
Is that R&B, basically?
Right, sort of like reggae, isn't it?
He was more reggae, right? Okay,
yeah. So it's good. You should give it a listen. He was big back in the day,
He was. I don't really remember any of his actual songs. Or is there something that I would remember from the radio?
Sunny. Yeah, you probably would. Yeah, if you put one on, you will.
I'll know it.
Yeah, you'll know it. Yeah, it's very good. Good album. Maverick Strike. The David Bowie album, I remember buying that, and it's a little bit hard work because it's a bit drum and bass.
This was seen as David Bowie's drum and bass album, wasn't it? And this is the one where he's on the front cover. He's standing with a Union Jack coat on.
Yes, that's it. Yeah.
I think some people thought that he was maybe following a trend too much or not doing, not. But I suppose if you look back on it now, maybe is it better now than?
I don't know.
I think it was sort of split people at the time, from what I can remember.
Yeah, I did like Little Wonder. I thought that was a good track, but thing is, it's one of those albums. If you're not in the right mood for it, it'll give you a headache.
Yeah, maybe. I might have to have a listen to that. I want to listen to some of these lesser well-known David Bowie albums. So
yeah. Well,
I want to do that.
I'm going to give James's Whiplash a going because I really like the single "She's a Star." I think that was a really great track. So I'm going to give that a listen. I'll probably give because I like the Prodigy stuff from that sort of time. I'm sure the Cult of Anton Deck came out in 1997. I'm almost convinced. But there's a lot of good stuff in there. And I might not be that predictable because you're probably sat there thinking, well, I know what one of your top 3 is going to be. And it probably will be because it is one of my favourite albums. There's no hiding from it. But it might not be one of my top 3 favourite albums of that time. It probably will be, but, I like to keep people guessing. Keep them on their toes.
Yeah.
Even though they're fingers, but you get what I mean.
So that is 97. Our thoughts so far. What are your thoughts so far, viewer? Have you got any albums from 97 that you think should definitely be in your top 3? Do you know what your top 3 is yet? Or you're still thinking about it and putting more music in your ears? Let us know in the comments. In the meantime, thanks for watching. Bye for now.
Bye.